Hello and welcome back to another Orange Coast College Mathematics video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the volume of different 3D shapes. So to start off, let's talk about right prisms. Now, if I want to find the volume, it's just going to be its base times height, but the base is just going to be length times width. So we can say that our volume is length times width times height. Next up is going to be the right cylinder. The volume is going to be its base times height. However, its base is a circle. So I need to find the area of a circle, which is going to be pi times r squared. So the volume for a right cylinder is pi r squared times h. Moving on, we have pyramids. Now the volume of a pyramid is going to be 1/3 times its base times its height. Then we're going to look at the volume of cones. And so the volume of cone is going to be 1/3 times pi times r squared times h. And this is for all right circular cones. Last but not least, we're going to have our trusty sphere. And so our volume is going to be 4/3 pi r cubed. So with all of these formulas in mind, let's go ahead and check out some problems. Let's find the volume of each figure. So for number 1, we see that we have ourselves a prism. And so I know that my volume is going to be the base times the height. And so we can say that volume is equal to base times height, which is going to be equal to 11 times 4 times 5. And if you plug all of this into a calculator, we are going to get 220 meters cubed. Now for number 2, we see that we have ourselves a sphere, and we can see what the radius is. It is 6 millimeters. So, writing our formula down, we have that the volume of a sphere is going to be 4/3 times pi times r cubed. So, we have 4/3 times pi, and then times 6 millimeters cubed. Multiplying this out, we're going to get 48 pi millimeters cubed. Moving on to number 3, we see that we have ourselves a cone. And so we know that our volume is going to be equal to 1/3 pi times r squared times h. I would like to just plug everything in. However, we don't actually have a measurement for what our height is. However, we are given the tools to find it. We're given the radius of this circle, which is 5 inches, and we actually know the slant right here, which is 13 inches. We can also see that this right here is a right angle. And so, this right here is a right triangle, which means we can use the Pythagorean theorem. We know two sides, and so we can solve for our height. So let's go ahead and try to find our height using the Pythagorean theorem. We know that it's going to be a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And since our height is one of our smaller legs, we can go ahead and arbitrarily choose a to be our height. So we have a squared equals c squared minus b squared, and hence a is going to be equal to the square root of c squared minus b squared. Now in this case, c is going to be 13 and b is going to be 5. So we can say that a is equal to the square root of 13 squared minus 5 squared. This then becomes the square root of 144. And finally, we get that our height is going to be equal to 12. So now we can go ahead and plug all of the information that we know into our formula. And so we're going to get that our volume is equal to 1/3 times pi times 5 squared times 12. Plugging all this into a calculator, we're going to see that we will get 100 pi inches cubed. Now, moving on to number 4, we have ourselves a cylinder. And so the volume of a cylinder is going to be volume equals pi times r squared times h. However, I know what my height is, it's 13 centimeters. I don't know what my radius is. But they did give us a diameter, and a radius is going to be half of the diameter. So 13 divided by 2 is going to be 6.5. So we can go ahead and plug in the information into our formula. So we'll have that the volume is equal to pi times 6.5 squared times our height of 13. Plugging all this into a calculator, we're going to see that we get 549.25 pi centimeters cubed. Moving on to our last problem, we know that we are dealing with a pyramid. And so the volume for a pyramid is just going to be 1/3 times its base times its height. Now the base is pretty easy for us to figure out because it's just a square, so it's 4 times 4. However, we don't actually have the height. But we do have the tools, very similar to the cone, to find our height. We are given the slant height right here. So taking a cross section, we're going to see this right here. It'll be a triangle. Now I don't know what this height is. I want to solve for it. But because we know our slant height is 10 centimeters, we can fill that in right here. Now this length down in the bottom is going to be one of these sides, so it's 4 centimeters. When we put the height in here, it's going to cut it in half. So 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2 centimeters. Now this is going to form a right triangle, and so we can use the Pythagorean theorem again in order to solve for our height h. So our height squared plus 2 squared has to be equal to 10 squared. Solving for h, we're going to see that we have h squared is equal to 100 minus 4, so 96. And hence, h is going to be equal to the square root of 96. Now that we have our height, we can actually go ahead and plug it into our formula. So our volume is going to be 1/3 times its base, which is just going to be 4 times 4, and then times its height of a square root of 96. Plugging this into our calculator, we're going to see that our volume is approximately 52.26 centimeters cubed. And with that, we finished our last problem. So that's going to do it for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.